The night was cold and lonely. The stars above the desert shone like frozen fire, watching over a world forgotten by time. On the edge of the colony of Riven Outpost, a young human boy named Eli sat beside a pile of broken metal. He was 16, thin and covered in dust and oil stains. His small house was made from old ship parts and rusted panels. To everyone else in the colony, he was just the orphan from the scrapyard. Eli had no family, no friends, and no future. Every day he worked in the junk fields, collecting pieces from crashed ships and broken machines. He fixed what he could and sold them to traders for food. Still, he never gave up dreaming. When the night was quiet, he would look up at the stars and whisper, "One day I'll fly there, far away from this place." That night the wind howled across the sand, carrying the smell of metal and fuel. The colony lights flickered in the distance like tiny stars on the ground. Eli was sorting through old engine parts when a sudden roar shook the sky. He looked up. A flaming object streaked across the heavens, glowing like a comet. It was moving fast, heading straight toward the desert hills. For a moment, Eli stood frozen. Then the crash came, a thunderous explosion that made the ground tremble. A bright orange light rose from behind the dunes. Smoke followed, dark and heavy. Everyone in the colony heard it, but no one moved. People in Riven Outpost had learned to stay away from crashes. Ships that fell from the sky often brought danger. Pirates, smuggled tech, or alien soldiers. But Eli couldn't just sit and watch. Something deep inside him said someone might need help. He grabbed his old flashlight and a metal rod, wrapped his torn jacket around his shoulders, and ran into the desert. The cold air burned his lungs, but he didn't stop. After 20 minutes of running, he reached the crash site. The ship had torn a deep scar in the ground. Flames danced along the broken wings, lighting up the sand like a small sun. Eli could feel the heat even from far away. The air smelled of burnt metal and plasma fuel. He coughed, covered his mouth, and stepped closer. The craft was not human. Its design was strange. Smooth curves, glowing symbols, and silver plates that shimmered like water. One of the engines was half buried in the sand. He could hear a soft, high-pitched sound, a distress beacon. "Hello? Is anyone there?" Eli shouted, his voice trembling. No answer came. He climbed up the side of the ship, his hands burning from the hot metal. When he reached the cockpit window, he saw movement inside. A figure, large with blue-gray skin and long arms, was slumped over the control panel. Eli's heart pounded. An alien. Most humans in the colony feared aliens. They said aliens saw humans as weak, poor, and primitive. But Eli didn't care. He saw someone hurt, someone who needed help. He hit the glass with his metal rod again and again until it cracked. The smell of smoke filled the air. When the glass shattered, Eli pulled the alien out. The creature was heavy and old, with silver hair and deep lines on his face. His breathing was shallow and his body shook. His chest plate was broken and strange blue blood dripped from a wound near his shoulder. Hey, stay with me," Eli said, panicking. "You're going to be okay." The alien's eyes opened slightly. They were golden, glowing softly even in the dark. His voice was rough, weak. "Code, protect the code. Hidden, trust. No one—" Eli leaned closer, confused. What code?" But the alien's eyes closed again, his breathing slowing. The ship gave another loud creak, fire spreading toward the fuel cells. Eli knew it could explode any second. Without thinking, he dragged the alien out of the wreck. The sand was rough and the alien was too heavy for his thin arms, but he didn't stop. Every few seconds he slipped, fell, and got back up. His hands were bleeding from the metal cuts and smoke filled his lungs. When they finally reached a safe distance, the ship exploded behind them, a wave of fire lighting up the desert sky. Eli covered the alien with his jacket and stared at the burning wreck. He didn't know who the alien was or what code he was talking about, but he felt something strange, like fate had brought them together. He waited for a while, hoping someone from the colony might come. But no one did. No one ever came for him either. So he made a decision. He would take the alien back to his small scrapyard home. With great effort, Eli placed the alien on his old hover cart and started pushing through the sand. The stars above watched silently as the human boy and the wounded alien disappeared into the night. When they finally reached the scrapyard, Eli laid the alien on a blanket inside his metal hut. The alien's breathing was faint and his skin was cold. Eli quickly found his toolbox and began repairing the alien's cracked breathing mask using old ship parts. He didn't know the alien species, but he understood machines, and that was enough. The mask hissed to life, releasing a soft blue mist. The alien's chest rose and fell again. Relief washed over Eli. "You're safe now," he whispered. "I don't know who you are, but I'll help you." Outside, the desert was quiet again. But far away, lights moved in the sky. Ships searching for something. Eli didn't know that the one he had just saved was Zorath, the richest and most powerful inventor in the galaxy, a being whose disappearance had already started a storm across worlds. And tonight, a poor human orphan had unknowingly changed the fate of the stars. Morning came slowly to the desert. The red sun rose over the dunes, lighting up the scrapyard with soft golden light. Inside the small metal hut, Eli sat beside the alien he had saved. The alien was still unconscious, breathing through the repaired mask Eli had fixed during the night. Every few seconds, a small blue light blinked on the device. Proof that it was still working. Eli hadn't slept. His hands were still sore and his clothes smelled like smoke. He watched the alien closely, afraid that he might die before waking up. He had seen death before, so poor miners, drifters, scavengers, but this was different. This alien was important. He could feel it. The way he had spoken, the strange words, "protect the code," they stayed in Eli's mind all night. Finally, around midday, the alien moved. His eyes opened slowly, golden and bright even in daylight. Eli stepped closer, nervous. "You're awake," Eli said softly. "You crashed last night. I pulled you out of the wreck. You're safe here." The alien blinked a few times, trying to focus. His voice came out deep and shaky. "Where am I?" Eli pointed outside. "Riven Outpost, outer colony world. You were lucky. The desert would have eaten you by morning." The alien turned his head, studying the small room. The rusty walls, the broken tech, the dusty floor. "You saved me?" Eli nodded. "Yeah, you were hurt." No one else came. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then the alien gave a small smile. Few would help a stranger, especially one not of their kind. Eli shrugged. "Doesn't matter what kind you are. You needed help. That's all." The alien looked at him for a long time, as if seeing something rare and something forgotten. Finally, he said, "My name is Zorath. I was a traveler, on a private journey. My ship malfunctioned." Eli believed him mostly. He didn't know the truth, that the man sitting in front of him was Zorath Vornax, the legendary inventor and richest being in the galaxy. "I'm Eli," the boy said simply. "Just a scavenger." Zorath tried to sit up but winced in pain. Eli quickly supported him. "You shouldn't move yet. Your ribs might be broken." Zorath looked at the boy's hands and bandaged with strips of cloth burned and cut. "You risked your life to save me." "Why?" Eli smiled faintly. "Because no one ever saved me." Zorath said nothing for a while. His golden eyes softened. "You are different, Eli. Most beings help for reward. You helped for nothing." Eli looked down. "I didn't do it for nothing. I did it because it felt right." Outside, the wind blew across the metal piles, making a soft whistle. The scrapyard was quiet, but somewhere far off, engines hummed in the sky, search ships patrolling the desert. Eli noticed them once and frowned. "Seems like people are looking for something out there." Zorath's face changed slightly, a flicker of worry. "If anyone asks, you found nothing last night. Promise me that." Eli hesitated. "Why, are you in trouble?" Zorath didn't answer. Instead, he leaned forward. "Just promise." "I promise," Eli said. That evening, Zorath's strength began to return. Eli shared his last bit of food, a stale ration bar and some recycled water. The alien accepted it gratefully, even though he didn't need much food to survive. While they ate, Eli showed him the things he had built: a small hover drone made from scrap parts, a repaired laser cutter, and a broken robot arm he was trying to fix. Zorath watched, surprised. "You built these without training?" he asked. Eli nodded. "Just from what I find. I like machines. They make sense." "People don't." Zorath smiled faintly. "You remind me of myself long ago." The two talked for hours. Zorath told simple stories about stars, strange worlds, and how vast the galaxy really was. Eli listened with shining eyes. No one had ever spoken to him like that before, like he mattered. By night, the bond between them had grown. Zorath saw something in the boy, courage, kindness, and a spark of intelligence that even many adults lacked. He felt respect. Later that night, Zorath stepped outside the hut for fresh air. He looked at the stars and whispered softly in his native language, "Perhaps the galaxy still has hope." But far away inside the colony, someone else had noticed the crash too. A group of armed bounty hunters arrived at the trading post, showing holographic photos of Zorath's face. They questioned the locals, offering large rewards. "Has anyone seen this alien?" one of them growled. "He carries something valuable, a data crystal. He must be found." A trader pointed toward the desert. "Last night, a boy from the scrapyard went running that way. The human orphan." The bounty hunter smiled coldly. "Then we know where to start." Back at the scrapyard, Eli was half asleep when he heard a faint beep. Zorath's repaired mask blinked a new color, green to red, red to green, as if reacting to something outside. "What's happening?" Eli asked, sitting up. Zorath's eyes narrowed. "They're close. They found the ship." "Who?" "Hunters. They'll come here next." Eli stood up quickly. "We have to hide you." Zorath reached into his torn suit and pulled out a small glowing cube, the data crystal. He handed it to Eli. "If anything happens, take this and run. It must never fall into the wrong hands." Eli took it carefully. "What's on it?" Zorath's voice turned quiet. "Everything. My life's work, and the key to a legacy I can't protect anymore." Before Eli could ask more, a noise echoed through the scrapyard. The crunch of metal footsteps. Someone was outside scanning the area. Red lights flickered through the cracks of the hut. Eli's heart raced. He turned off the lamp and whispered, "Stay quiet." Outside, a deep alien voice said, "The scanner shows energy signals here. Spread out." Zorath's golden eyes met Eli's. "Whatever happens, trust your instincts." The sound of footsteps grew louder. Sand crunched, weapons clicked. Eli grabbed a wrench, his hands trembling. The night was silent except for the whisper of the wind. Then a knock on the metal door. "Open up, boy. We just want to ask a few questions." Eli's breath caught in his throat. The hunters had found them. The night air was still, but Eli's heart pounded like thunder. Outside the shack, shadows moved between the piles of metal. The red beams of alien scanners cut through the dark like knives. Zorath sat silently, his golden eyes glowing faintly. "They are bounty hunters," he whispered. "Mercenaries from the Vornak sector. They want me dead." Eli gripped the wrench tighter, his palms sweating. "Then we can't let them find you." Zorath's breathing mask hissed softly. "If they see me, they'll kill you too." "You helped me, Eli. That already makes you a target." The boy swallowed hard, fear twisting his stomach. He looked around the small shack. "There's a hatch under the floor. I can hide you there." Zorath nodded weakly. Together they moved quickly and quietly. Eli lifted a metal sheet under the rug, revealing a small hole that led into the dark crawlspace below. Zorath crawled inside, his movements slow and painful. Eli covered the hole just as a bright red light flashed across the room. The door creaked open with a long, metallic sound. A tall alien stepped in, gray-skinned, armored, with two red eyes that glowed like fire. Behind him were two more hunters holding plasma rifles. The leader's voice was deep. "You, human boy, did you see a ship crash last night?" Eli forced himself to stay calm. "No, sir. I was asleep." The hunter looked around the room, scanning everything. His red eyes lingered on the broken tools, the scorched jacket, and the burnt marks on Eli's hands. "You're lying." Eli's throat tightened, but he stood straight. "I'm not. I work with scrap. I burn myself all the time." The hunter stepped closer. "You sure you didn't find anyone out there?" Eli met his gaze. "No one." For a long moment, the alien stared into his eyes. Then he laughed coldly. "You humans are good at hiding things. Let's see if your junkyard hides something too." He waved his hand. The other two hunters stepped outside and started kicking through piles of metal. Eli's heart hammered in his chest. Under his floor, Zorath stayed completely silent, not even breathing loudly. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, one of the hunters called out, "Nothing here, Captain. Just old parts." The leader gave Eli one last look. "If I find out you lied, boy, I'll burn this place down." Eli didn't flinch. "Then I hope you don't waste your time." The alien grunted, turned, and walked away. The sound of boots faded into the distance. Only when silence returned did Eli lift the floor panel again. Zorath crawled out, coughing. His body shook with exhaustion. "You lied for me," he said softly. Eli smiled faintly. "Guess that makes us even." Zorath looked at him with quiet pride. You are brave, Eli. Few would stand up to them. Eli shrugged, trying to hide his fear. I was scared, but I didn't want them to hurt you. Zorath placed a trembling hand on the boy's shoulder. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's acting despite it. You have that gift. Over the next few days, the scrapyard became their hidden world. Eli kept Zorath safe, sneaking food and water from the colony and repairing his broken equipment using spare parts. In return, Zorath began teaching him things about alien tech, energy cores, and the hidden logic of machines. They worked together quietly, side by side. Zorath's voice, deep and calm, guided Eli's hands as they rebuilt a small power cell. See, Zorath said, pointing at the glowing wire. Energy flows like trust. Fragile, but powerful when connected right. Eli smiled. You talk like a teacher. I was once, Zorath said with a faraway look. Before greed and power destroyed everything I built. Eli didn't understand fully, but he could sense the sadness in the alien's tone. You lost someone? Zorath nodded. Many, and now I hide from the monsters I created. Eli stopped working. Then we'll fix it. Whatever they took from you, we'll fix it. Zorath looked at the boy, this poor, lonely human who had nothing, and yet spoke as if he could fix the universe. A strange warmth filled his chest. Perhaps you will, Eli, perhaps you will. Days passed and their bond grew stronger. They shared stories under the desert sky. Eli told Zorath about his parents, how they died when smugglers attacked their transport ship. He had survived alone, scavenging to live. Zorath listened in silence, guilt flickering in his eyes. You humans, Zorath said one night, you suffer so much, yet you never stop hoping. Eli smiled faintly. Hope's the only thing no one can steal. Zorath looked at the stars and whispered, the galaxy has forgotten that. But peace never lasted long on Riven Outpost. One evening, Eli went to trade his metal for supplies. At the market, he heard whispers. Bounty hunters were still searching for a wounded alien and a missing crystal. The reward had doubled. Some said the alien was carrying enough wealth to buy a planet. Eli froze. If the traders started talking, they would come to his scrapyard again. He hurried home through the dusty streets, the setting sun painting everything blood red. When he reached the scrapyard, he found Zorath outside, staring at the horizon. They're getting closer, Zorath said before Eli could speak. I can feel the signal of their trackers. Eli's heart sank. Then we have to move. Zorath nodded. We will. But there is something you must know first. He handed Eli a small device and a silver ring with strange blue markings. If something happens to me, this will guide you. Follow it to Nova Station. Promise me. Eli looked at him confused. You talk like you're not coming. Zorath's eyes were heavy with truth. I am old, Eli. My time may be short. But yours is just beginning. Before Eli could answer, the ground beneath them vibrated. A low hum filled the air. In the distance, 3 dark ships were descending, dust and fire rising behind them. Zorath looked up, his voice calm but urgent. They found us. Eli's eyes widened. What do we do? Zorath looked at him with the faintest smile. We fight or we run. Either way, tonight decides our fate. The ships landed with thunderous force, and the night filled with red lights once again. The wind howled through the scrapyard that night, carrying the heavy smell of sand and smoke. The sky turned red from the glow of 3 descending ships. Their engines roared like angry beasts, shaking the metal piles around Eli's hut. He stood frozen, staring at the storm of dust rising from the dunes. They found us, he whispered. Beside him, Zorath straightened his weak body. His golden eyes flickered under the dim light. Yes, he said quietly. The hunters have come, and they will not leave without blood. Eli's throat felt dry. Then we can't stay here. Zorath nodded slowly. We must move. But first, listen carefully, Eli. These men serve not justice, but greed. If they capture me, they will use my inventions to enslave worlds. You must not let that happen. Eli clenched his fists. Then I won't. I'll get you out of here. He ran to his workbench and grabbed a small bag filled with tools, wires, and a half-built drone. His mind raced. He had no weapons, no armor, just junk and his own wits. But junk was what he knew best. Outside, the sound of footsteps approached. The red beams of searchlights danced across the piles of broken ships. Eli could see the hunters' silhouettes through the cracks of the wall. Tall, armored, carrying plasma rifles that glowed in the dark. Zorath's breathing mask hissed softly. "They'll circle the yard. We must leave through the back," Eli nodded. He helped Zorath to his feet, but the alien's body trembled from weakness. They moved carefully toward the back exit, their footsteps muffled by the sand-covered floor. Then boom! The front door exploded inward, torn apart by a plasma blast. Metal shards flew everywhere. Eli and Zorath ducked as a deep voice shouted, "Search every corner! Bring the old one alive!" Eli's heart hammered. He looked around desperately. Then his eyes landed on a pile of old power cells. An idea sparked, he whispered, "Cover your ears." Zorath didn't question it. Eli grabbed 2 small cells, twisted the caps, and rolled them across the floor. The hunters noticed too late. Crack! A blinding flash lit the room as electricity burst outward. The shockwave threw one of the hunters against the wall. Sparks rained down like lightning. "Run!" Eli shouted. They dashed through the back door into the maze of metal ruins. The night was alive with fire and noise, engines screaming, metal clanging, voices shouting orders. Eli pushed Zorath onto his old hover cart, the same one he used to move scrap. "Hold on," he yelled. He jumped behind the cart, started the old thrusters, and sped into the desert. The cart shuddered, its engine coughing smoke, but it moved fast enough. Behind them, red lights grew smaller. For now, blasts of plasma fire chased them, hitting the sand around their path. One shot grazed Eli's shoulder, burning his jacket. He bit his lip, refusing to cry out. Zorath looked at him with pride and fear. "You are strong, Eli," he said, "but strength alone will not save us. Then tell me what will." Eli shouted over the roaring wind. Zorath hesitated, then pulled a small data crystal from his belt, the same one he had given Eli before. It glowed faintly blue. "This," he said. "This holds everything, my research, my patents, my secrets. If I die, this must reach Nova Station. Promise me." Eli looked at it briefly, then back at the path ahead. "You're not going to die." Zorath smiled faintly. "You remind me of myself, when I still believe that." The hovercart bounced over a dune and almost flipped, but Eli kept control. The engines whined in protest. He could see the dark shape of a canyon ahead. Maybe they could hide there. Behind them, the bounty ships followed, their spotlights cutting through the night like blades. Eli gritted his teeth. "We're not going to make it if they catch up." Zorath raised his hand weakly, pressing a button on his wrist device. A strange pulse spread through the air, distorting the lights behind them. "What did you do?" Eli asked. "Electromagnetic cloak," Zorath said. "Temporary. It will hide us, but it will also drain my life energy." Eli turned sharply. "Stop using it." "You'll die!" Zorath shook his head. "Better me than both of us." The light around them shimmered, and the sounds of the pursuing ships faded. They reached the edge of the canyon and stopped. The hovercart sputtered and died. The night became quiet except for the whistling wind through the rocks. Eli jumped down and helped Zorath off the cart. The alien's skin was pale, his breathing slow. "We'll rest here," Eli said, trying to sound confident. He found a small cave and helped Zorath inside. Then he used his lighter to start a tiny fire from scraps of cloth. The orange glow lit Zorath's face. He looked older now, fragile, like the fire itself could blow him away. Eli sat beside him, wiping sweat and dust from his face. "We made it," he whispered. "They didn't catch us." Zorath looked at him weakly. "For now." He coughed, a strange blue liquid staining his mask. "Eli, there is much I must tell you." "The truth cannot die with me." Eli shook his head. "Don't talk like that." Zorath reached out and placed the glowing data crystal in his hand. "Listen to me. I built Vornax Corporation, every ship, every technology you see in this galaxy. But my family, my own blood, betrayed me. They want this crystal because it holds proof of their crimes." Eli's eyes widened. You're that Zorath? The billionaire inventor?" Zorath smiled faintly. "Was. Now just a dying old man who met a brave young human." Eli felt his throat tighten. "You're not dying. You can't." Zorath's eyes dimmed. "Eli, promise me. Protect the code." Eli gripped his hand tightly. "I promise." Zorath exhaled slowly, his body going still. The light in his eyes faded like the last spark of a dying star. Eli sat there in silence, shaking. He had lost people before, but this was different. Zorath wasn't just a friend. He had believed in him when no one else did. Outside the cave, engines rumbled again. The bounty hunters had found their trail. Eli wiped his tears, stood up, and tucked the data crystal safely inside his jacket. His eyes burned with new fire. "They want the code," he said softly. "Then they'll have to fight me for it." He picked up the wrench from his belt, the same one he used to save Zorath on the night of the crash, and looked out at the red lights. Approaching through the storm, the orphan boy was no longer just a scavenger. Tonight he would fight for the man who had changed his life. The wind moaned through the canyon, echoing like a sad song. The night was dark again, and the stars looked cold above the desert. In the cave, Eli sat beside Zorath's still body, the fire almost gone. The boy's eyes were red from crying, his hands shaking as he held the alien's lifeless hand. Zorath's breathing mask had gone silent. The golden glow in his eyes had faded hours ago. The old alien who had trusted him, who had taught him, was gone. Eli wiped his face roughly and whispered, "You said not to give up." "So I won't." He looked down at the data crystal Zorath had given him. It pulsed faintly in his hand, and slow, steady like a heartbeat. Eli didn't understand why, but the light made him feel as if Zorath was still watching. Outside, the hum of bounty ships echoed across the desert. Eli knew they were close. He didn't have time to grieve. He had to hide to survive, and to protect whatever secret was inside that crystal. He searched the cave and found an old portable console, half broken and covered in dust. Maybe it had belonged to miners once. He sat beside the fire and connected the crystal to the console with a few makeshift wires. Sparks flew, then the screen flickered. At first there was nothing but static. Then a flash of blue light filled the cave. A hologram appeared. It was Zorath. Not the weak old man Eli had buried, but a younger, stronger version. His back straight, his eyes glowing bright gold. He looked like a king of stars. Eli gasped softly. Zorath's hologram spoke in a calm, deep voice. "If you are seeing this, Eli, it means I am gone. But I left something behind, something for you." Eli's throat tightened. "For me?" he whispered. Zorath continued, "I am Zorath Vornax, founder of the Vornax Corporation. I built worlds. I gave life to machines, energy to civilizations. But I made a mistake. I trusted the wrong people. My own family turned against me. They wanted my empire, my wealth, my inventions, and to protect their crimes, they hunted me down." Eli's heart pounded. He had heard of Vornax Corporation, everyone had. Their symbol was stamped on ships, robots, and energy cells across the galaxy. The idea that the broken old alien he'd saved was the creator of it all. It was unbelievable. The hologram went on. "They will seek the data crystal you hold. It contains not only my life's work, but also evidence of their betrayal. I could have hidden it anywhere, but I chose to leave it with you, Eli, a boy who saved a stranger without asking for anything in return." Eli's eyes filled with tears. Zorath's image softened, almost like a father speaking to a son. "You are the one thing the galaxy forgot. Honest, brave, human. When you found me, you did not see wealth or status. You only saw life. That is why I choose you. You are my heir." Eli's mouth fell open. "Your heir?" Zorath nodded slowly. "Yes, I built an empire, but I lost my soul. You reminded me what it means to have one. If you survive this, go to Nova Station, the heart of my company. There you will find a chamber locked by my DNA and voice print. The data crystal will open it. Inside lies my will, and your future." Eli stared at the hologram, unable to breathe. Zorath continued, "Use what I have built not for power but for good. Help those forgotten by the stars, the way you helped me." The hologram flickered, then began to fade. But just before it vanished, Zorath smiled. "I believe in you, Eli. The galaxy will one day know your name." And then the light was gone. Eli sat in silence, his heart heavy and burning all at once. He wanted to cry, but also to laugh. Zorath, the richest being in the galaxy, had left everything to him, a poor orphan who lived in a scrapyard. But before he could think further, a sharp noise broke the silence. Beep, beep, beep. Eli looked at the console. The signal from the crystal was being traced. The bounty hunters had locked onto it. He jumped to his feet, grabbing the crystal in his bag. "They're coming," he whispered. Outside the cave, lights appeared, red beams cutting through the darkness. Voices echoed across the canyon. "Spread out. The signal is here. The crystal is close." Eli's heart raced. He grabbed his hover cart and pushed it out of the cave. The engine sputtered, barely alive after the last escape. The hunters were closer now, their shadows moving over the rocks. Eli took one last look at the cave. "Goodbye, Zorath," he said softly. "I'll finish what you started." He jumped on the hover cart and sped off into the night. Plasma shots hissed past him, burning the sand. The wind tore through his hair as he raced across the dunes. Behind him, one of the bounty ships lifted off, following his heat trail. Eli swerved left, heading toward the cliffs. He remembered Zorath's ring and the one he gave him. He slipped it on his finger. Suddenly, the ring glowed blue, projecting a faint map in front of him, a star-shaped path leading northeast. It pulsed toward a blinking dot, Nova Station. Eli smiled through the fear. "So that's where you want me to go." He turned the hover cart and followed the glowing path. The engines whined, smoke rising from the back, but he didn't stop. The bounty ships roared behind him. A voice shouted through the radio, "Stop now, human." "You can't escape." Eli gritted his teeth. "Watch me." He pressed every button he had wired to the cart, an old self-defense system he'd built long ago. The rear thrusters fired a burst of heat, blinding the pursuers for a moment. The cart shot forward faster than ever. The canyon walls blurred around him. The crystal in his pocket pulsed like a heartbeat, alive, guiding him. The chase continued until dawn painted the horizon silver. The boy didn't know how long he could keep running. But deep inside he felt something new. Not just fear, but purpose. He wasn't just an orphan anymore. He was the keeper of a legacy powerful enough to shake the stars. The sun rose over the endless desert, painting the dunes in gold and fire. The wind carried sand like burning dust, stinging Eli's face as he raced across the wasteland on his old hover cart. Behind him, 3 bounty ships chased like hungry beasts, their red engines glowing in the morning light. Eli's arms ached, his eyes burned, and his cart coughed smoke with every turn. But he didn't stop. He couldn't. In his jacket pocket, the data crystal pulsed faintly, like it was alive, like it wanted him to keep going. He whispered to it through the roaring wind, "Don't worry, Zorath. I'll get us there. I promise." The glowing map from Zorath's ring projected a path through the canyons. He followed it, swerving sharply between rocks and debris. Plasma shots hit the ground around him, sending up clouds of sand. Suddenly, the ring blinked faster, signaling something ahead. A sharp turn led him into a narrow valley filled with shadows and twisted metal. It looked like the remains of an ancient crash site. Broken engines and alien tech were scattered everywhere. Eli slowed the cart and hid behind a large piece of metal. The hunter's ships passed above, scanning the area but not seeing him. For the first time in hours, silence returned. He took a deep breath, his body shaking with exhaustion. "I can't keep running forever," he said softly. "I have to fight back." He looked around the crash site. It was full of alien machines, forgotten, damaged, but not dead. And Eli was a scavenger. Fixing broken things was what he did best. He spent hours digging through the wreck, repairing wires, connecting batteries, testing circuits. He used what he had learned from Zorath, how energy flowed like life itself. Slowly, he began to build something new. A small defense drone powered by leftover plasma cells. When it powered on, its single blue eye blinked to life. It floated beside him, humming softly. Eli smiled weakly. "Guess I'm not alone anymore." Then the ring flashed again, projecting a small holographic arrow deeper into the valley. Curious, Eli followed it. The drone hovered close, scanning the ground. At the far end of the valley, half buried under sand, lay a massive metal door. It was old, ancient even, with symbols glowing faintly across its surface, the same language he'd seen on Zorath's ship. Eli touched the door, and the ring on his hand glowed in response. A voice echoed softly from the door. "Identity detected, Zorath Vornax. Successor authorization required." Eli stepped back, startled. "Successor?" He raised his hand again, and the ring projected Zorath's hologram, the one he had recorded before his death. The door scanned the image, then emitted a soft tone. "Successor confirmed. Welcome, inheritor." With a deep rumble, the massive door slid open. A wave of cold air and dust escaped. Inside was darkness, but a faint blue light glowed at the end of a tunnel. Eli stepped in carefully, the drone lighting the way. The tunnel walls were covered in alien writing and old machines humming faintly. like they had been asleep for centuries. At the end of the tunnel was a hidden hangar, perfectly preserved. In the center stood a ship, sleek, silver, and shaped like a falcon in flight. It was smaller than the bounty ships, but more elegant, more alive. Eli approached slowly. The ship's lights turned on, sensing his presence. A soft voice spoke, smooth, mechanical, and feminine. Identity scan complete. New pilot registered. Eli, human origin. Welcome aboard, Eli froze. You can talk? I am Aura, the ship replied. An artificial unified response assistant. Designed by Zorath Vornax. Eli felt his heart jump. Zorath built you? Yes, Aura said. He built me to protect his heir. That is you. Eli stared at the glowing console. For a moment he couldn't speak. I'm no heir. I'm just me. Correction, Aura said calmly. You are the one who saved him. That is enough. Eli's throat tightened. He climbed into the cockpit, feeling the controls under his fingers. The seat adjusted automatically to his size. The ship's interior was beautiful. Glowing blue circuits, soft light, smooth metal walls. It felt like a heartbeat around him. Outside, a low rumble echoed. The bounty ships were returning. Multiple targets detected, Aura announced. 3 ships inbound. Eli clenched his jaw. Then let's see what you can do. The ship's engines came to life with a deep, thunderous hum. The ground shook as blue energy lit the hangar. The roof panels slid open, revealing the sky. Engage flight mode, Aura said. Eli gripped the controls. Let's rise. The Falcon-class ship lifted off smoothly, faster and lighter than anything Eli had ever seen. Within seconds, it burst through the clouds. The bounty ship spotted him and changed course, firing plasma bolts. Activating defense shields, Aura said. A shimmering blue barrier surrounded the ship, absorbing the hits like rain on glass. Eli's hands moved fast, guided by instinct and memory of Zorath's lessons. Let's return the favor. He pressed a button, and energy blast shot from the Falcon's wings, hitting one bounty ship squarely. It exploded in a flash of red fire. Direct hit, Aura confirmed. Eli's heart raced, adrenaline flooding his veins. For the first time, he wasn't running. He was fighting back. The other 2 ships circled him, firing rapidly. Eli spun the Falcon in a spiral, dodging the shots with surprising skill. Aura assisted, adjusting the trajectory in perfect timing. Pilot reflexes improving, Aura said. Eli smirked. Guess I learned fast. He pulled up hard, looping behind one of the hunters and firing again. The second ship went down in flames, crashing into the desert below. The last bounty ship broke off, retreating toward the horizon. Eli watched it disappear, breathing hard. Aura spoke softly. Enemy retreat confirmed. You are safe, Eli. Eli leaned back in the seat, closing his eyes. Safe, he repeated quietly. For now. He looked out at the rising sun over the desert. The light touched the Falcon's wings, turning them gold. He thought of Zorath, of his promise, his trust, his last words. I won't let you down, Eli whispered. I'll reach Nova Station. No matter what. Aura responded, destination set. Nova Station coordinates locked. The engines hummed louder, brighter. The Falcon rose higher, leaving the broken desert far below. The orphan boy was no longer just running. He was flying, rising from the dust toward the stars, carrying the legacy of a legend. The stars stretched endlessly before him. Silver light scattered across a sea of darkness. The Falcon ship glided silently through space, its hull glowing faintly with blue energy. Inside, Eli sat in the pilot's seat, eyes fixed on the swirling lights ahead. For days he had been flying, following the glowing path on Zorath's ring. It led him toward Nova Station, the shining heart of the galaxy, home to the great towers of Vornax Corporation, the empire Zorath had built with his own hands. Each passing hour felt heavier. Zorath's last words echoed in his mind. Use what I built for good. Help those forgotten by the stars. But deep down, Eli knew the journey wasn't over. The real test was waiting at the end. Aura, the ship's AI, spoke softly. Approaching Nova Station. Scanning for security. Eli leaned forward. Outside the window, a massive structure appeared. A city in space. Dozens of towers floated in orbit, linked by glowing bridges and surrounded by ships from every world. It was beautiful and terrifying at once. Aura's voice changed tone. Warning. Hostile signal detected. Incoming vessel, large-class warship. Identification, Vornax Royal Cruiser. Eli's heart skipped a beat. That's Zorath's family. Before he could react, a deep voice echoed through the ship's comms. So the little human finally shows himself. Eli froze. The face that appeared on the holoscreen was sharp and cold. Lord Vexar Vornax, Zorath's nephew. His golden eyes gleamed with hate. You have something that belongs to me, boy, Vexar said. Return the crystal and I might let you live. Eli clenched his fists. It doesn't belong to you. It's Zorath's, and he trusted me. Vexar's expression darkened. That fool is dead. His empire is mine, and you are nothing. Eli's anger burned hot in his chest. Maybe I am nothing. But he believed in me, and that means I'm not afraid of you. Vexar laughed coldly. Then die with your courage, human. His warship's cannons charged, glowing red. Aura's voice shouted, Evasive maneuvers? The sky exploded. Plasma beams tore across space, forcing Eli to dive. The Falcon rolled sharply, weaving between bursts of light. But the enemy ship was massive, a floating fortress armed with hundreds of guns. Eli gritted his teeth. Aura, charge the main cannon. Energy low, Aura replied. One shot available. That's enough. He waited, watching the enemy's shields flicker. Then, boom, the Falcon's cannon fired a blinding blue beam. It struck Vexar's ship, breaking through one layer of its shield. But the cruiser still stood strong. Vexar smirked. Impressive. But you can't win. Eli's mind raced. He remembered Zorath's lessons. Energy flows like trust. Use it, don't waste it. He took a deep breath. Aura, reroute power from the Falcon's engines to the plasma core. That will disable flight systems, Aura warned. I know, Eli said. We'll fall, but so will he. The Falcon's engines dimmed as energy poured into the cannon. The cockpit lights flickered. Outside, the stars spun wildly. Vexar's warship closed in, preparing the final strike. Goodbye, human. But before he could fire, the Falcon released its last shot in a glowing spiral of blue light. It hit the cruiser's central reactor, breaking through the hull. Fire and smoke erupted as the giant ship started to split apart. Vexar's face twisted with rage on the screen. You'll destroy us both. Eli's voice was calm. Then I'll die doing what's right. But just as the Falcon began to fall toward Nova Station, something incredible happened. The console lit up with a golden symbol. Zorath's voice echoed through the ship, soft but powerful. Eli, I am proud of you. Eli's eyes widened. Zorath. The hologram appeared beside him, faint and transparent, but smiling. I built this ship to protect my heir. My spirit is part of its code. You're not alone, Eli. Let's end this together. Eli's hands trembled as he gripped the controls again. Let's do it, old man. Zorath's holographic hand reached over the console, merging with the controls. The ship glowed brighter than ever, blue and gold energy flowing through its wings. Full power to shields, Zorath commanded. The Falcon soared upward again, slicing through the fire and debris. It circled the dying cruiser one last time. Together, Eli and Zorath fired the final pulse, pure energy forged from both their wills. The explosion lit up the sky like a second sunrise. The cruiser shattered into light, fragments burning out in silence. The Falcon spun through the storm but stayed intact. When it finally steadied, Aura spoke softly. Threat eliminated. Structural damage, minimal. Eli looked beside him. Zorath's hologram was fading, golden light scattering like dust. You did it, Eli said, voice shaking. We did it, Zorath smiled gently. No, Eli, you did. You showed them what humanity truly is in heart, courage, and hope. Never lose that. Eli's eyes filled with tears. I won't. Good, Zorath whispered. Then my legacy is safe. In you. With that, the hologram faded into the light, leaving only silence. Eli sat there for a long time, staring at the stars. He felt the loss again, but this time it wasn't pain. It was peace. Later, when the Falcon landed at Nova Station, the Galactic Council greeted him. The evidence from Zorath's crystal exposed Vexar's betrayal and cleared Zorath's name. The Council declared Eli Vornax the new rightful heir to the Vornax Corporation. But Eli didn't care about money or fame. He used the company's power to build homes for orphans, free colonies from corruption, and share technology with every race, human and alien alike. People across the galaxy began to speak his name with respect. They called him the human heir, the boy who rose from the dirt to touch the stars. One evening, standing on the balcony of Nova Tower, Eli looked out at the galaxy Zorath had once ruled. The stars shimmered like memories. He smiled softly. You were right, Zorath. The galaxy forgot what heart means, but we'll remind them one world at a time. The falcon soared above him, its wings glowing golden under the light of 1,000 suns. And as Eli watched it disappear into the stars, he whispered, "In saving one life, we changed them all."